Would you sell vegetables, beg from home, clean someone's house, walk door to door looking for work? Or would pride keep you from God's provision? Today, we're going to meet a woman named Ruth who wasn't afraid to look small because she understood that humble beginnings are often where God hides his greatest blessings.
Welcome to Behold and Become, a space for integrated healing and becoming. Here, you will enjoy teachings and conversations that heal the mind, shape the soul, and transform from the inside out. I'm Brenda Shoko, your host, pastor, author, social worker, and transformation coach.
Welcome back to Behold and Become, the space where we do the real work, the integrated work of healing and becoming. I'm your host, Brenda, and I'm so glad you are here with me again. Last week, we sat in the hard places. We talked about loss, about grief, about the moment when Naomi renamed herself Mara, bitter, and Ruth made a different choice. She chose to cling, she chose to press forward into an uncertain future with a God she barely knew. If you missed that episode, I want you to go back and listen, because you can't get to where we are going today without understanding where Ruth started. She was a widow, a foreigner, a woman with nothing but a bitter mother-in-law and a faith that was bigger than her circumstances. Today, we're walking with Ruth into the fields. And here's what I want you to know before we go any further. The field is where everything changes, but it's also where Ruth has to make a choice about humility, a choice about pride, a choice about whether she's going to sit in a grief or get up and glean. This episode is called Don't Despise Your Cleaning Season. And if you've been waiting for permission to start, even if starting looks small, even if starting looks beneath you, this one's for you. So, let's pick up where we left off. Ruth and Naomi have made it to Bethlehem. They've survived the journey. They've arrived in the promised land. And now they are there, two widows with no income, no connection, no safety net. Now, here's what I love about Ruth. She didn't get to Bethlehem and became passive. She didn't sit in the tent and wait for a miracle to fall out of the sky. She didn't complain about her circumstances or blame God for her situation. The Bible says she went to Naomi and said, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain." Now we need to understand what gleaning was in that culture, because this wasn't a job with dignity and a paycheck. This wasn't a career move. This wasn't even minimum wage. Gleaning was the ancient equivalent of accepting social assistance. It was the welfare system that God himself had built into the law for the poor, the foreigner, the widow, and the orphan. You can read about it in Leviticus. God told the farmers, don't reap to the very edges of your field. Don't go back for the leftovers. Leave them for the poor and the foreigners. You can reference that in Leviticus 19, verse 9 to 10, 23, verse 22. Can I just pause here for a moment? Isn't it incredible that God had already thought about the poor, the widow, the orphan, and even the foreigner? Before Ruth ever found herself in desperate need, God had already put a system in place to make sure she could survive. That's who God is. He's never caught off guard by our circumstances. Often, he's already gone ahead of us and made provision before we even know we'll need it. So, gleaning meant walking behind the harvesters, the paid workers, and picking up what they dropped off or left behind. It meant bending down in the dirt. It meant depending on the kindness of strangers. It meant head down and your hands were outstretched. It meant people looking at you and seeing poverty. And here's the thing, Ruth knew exactly what it was. She wasn't naive about the social implications. She knew she would be seen as the poor foreign woman scraping for scraps. She knew the women of Bethlehem would whisper about her. She knew she could stand out, and not in a good way. But she asked for permission to go anyway. She volunteered for the lowest position because she had someone at home depending on her. Naomi needed to eat, and Ruth was willing to look small so that they could both survive. Now, can I bring this a little closer to home? Sometimes our gleaning doesn't look like walking behind harvesters. Sometimes it looks like starting over in ways that feel humiliating. I've met women who are afraid to start a small vegetable business because they are worried about what people will whisper. Isn't she the one who used to have everything? Look at her now selling vegetables by the roadside. Others are embarrassed to sell eggs, bake from home, braid hair, sell second-hand clothes, or walk door to door offering their services because they're thinking, what will people say? People will think I've become poor. I've stooped so low. Some won't even consider cleaning someone's house, not because the work is dishonorable, but because they are afraid of what others will think. Maybe they were once known as the CEO's wife. Maybe they once lived comfortably. Maybe life has changed and now pride is standing where provision should be. But not Ruth. She understood something that many of us forget. There is no shame in honest work, ladies. There is no shame in starting again. There is no shame in doing what is necessary to feed your family while trusting God for the next chapter. Ruth was more concerned about providing for Naomi than protecting her image. She chose purpose over pride. She chose provision over reputation. She chose obedience over appearances. Can I tell you something, sis? Never allow your reputation to become more important than your responsibility. This is where we have to pause and look at ourselves. And I'm going to be honest with you because that's what we do here. Many of us struggle to step into potential, not because we lack ability, not because we lack talent, not because God hasn't opened doors, but because we feel the work in front of us is beneath us. We want the harvest without the humility. Yes, we want the promotion without the preparation. We want to be seen and celebrated, but we don't want to start at the bottom where nobody knows our name. We want the platform, but we don't want to put in the unseen hours. We want the marriage, but we don't want to do the healing work alone. We want the business, but we don't want to do the small, tedious tasks that don't make us feel successful. What if the very thing you're calling beneath me is actually the field where God has hidden your next season? Because Ruth didn't meet Boaz in comfort. She met him while gleaning. She didn't find her future while protecting her reputation. She found it while faithfully doing what was necessary. Can I tell you something that might free you today? When you're not attached to your image, you are free to do what is needed. Let me repeat that. When you are not attached to your image, you are free to do what is needed. Yes, Ruth wasn't worried about the women of Bethlehem. She wasn't worried about what they will think of her. She wasn't concerned about her reputation. She wasn't scrolling through social media, comparing her life to others. She was concerned about survival and provision. And because she was willing to look small, God positioned her to be seen by the right person. Here's the truth I need you to write on your heart, ladies. You cannot receive the harvest of your destiny if you're too proud to glean in the preparation stage. The ground where you feel most humbled is often the ground where God is setting you up to be elevated. So Ruth decided to go to the fields. She made a move. And I want you to notice something really important here. She didn't wait until she felt ready. She didn't allow her feelings to lead her. She didn't wait until she had everything figured out. She didn't wait until she knew which field would be the right one. She just went. She activated her faith by activating her feet. And the Bible says something beautiful in Ruth 2 verse 3. It says this: as it turned out, she found herself working in a field belonging to Boaz. Now that phrase, as it turned out, might look like chance in English. It might look like luck or coincidence. But in the Hebrew, it's literally her chance chanced upon. It's the kind of phrase the biblical writers used when they wanted to say, this looked random. but God was behind it all the time. Yes, God was behind it all the time. Ruth wasn't wandering aimlessly through the fields of Bethlehem. She wasn't just lucky, she was being led. I want you to get this. She was being led. And this is where we have to shift how we see our own lives. You might be feeling like you're just working hard in a random field. You might feel like you're showing up every day at a job that doesn't matter. You might feel like you're serving in a ministry nobody sees. You might feel like you are building something that hasn't taken off yet. You might feel like you're just another person in another field picking up leftovers. It can feel ordinary. It can feel invisible. It can feel like nothing is happening. But here's what I need you to understand. While you're working, God is orchestrating. The coincidences of your life are the fingerprints of God. Yes, that conversation you had that felt like perfect timing, that was God. The door that opened right where you needed it, that was God. That person who noticed your work when you weren't trying to be noticed, that was God. That opportunity that came out of nowhere, that was God. Ruth didn't know she was walking toward Boaz. She just knew she was walking toward food, but God knew her, and He was guiding her steps the entire time. So if you're in a season when nothing makes sense, where you're working hard but you can't see the bigger picture, where you're faithful but you feel invisible, take heart. Ruth was invisible too, until she wasn't. The same God who guided her to the right field at the right time is guiding you. You are not wandering, you are being led. It just looks like wandering from where you are standing. Now here's the part we can't miss. Ruth didn't wait for Boaz to find her. She didn't sit at home and pray, Lord, send Boaz to my tent. No. She didn't light a candle and wait for a miracle. She went to work. She understood that faith without works is dead. She understood that prayer and provision often meet in the middle. God guides, but we have to go. And here's what I need you to understand. You cannot unlock what you do not act upon. Ruth's potential was unlocked when she took the step and God guided her. If she had stayed in the tent, paralyzed by her grief, paralyzed by her fear, paralyzed by her pride, she would have starved. She would have never met Boaz. She would have never made it into the lineage of Jesus. But because she moved, God moved on her behalf. And here's a principle I want you to hold on to. God doesn't guide a stationary woman. He guides a woman who is already walking. Remember, scripture tells us the steps of a righteous man are ordered by God. You want direction? Start moving. You want clarity? Start acting on what you already know. You want doors to open? Start knocking on the ones that are right in front of you. Now, here's what strikes me about Ruth. She was willing to accept help. She was not ashamed to allow assistance in a time of need. She didn't pretend she had it all together. She didn't put on a brave face and say, no, thank you. Naomi and I will figure it out on our own. I don't need charity. I don't need handouts. No. Ladies, she admitted her need and she accepted the provision that God had built into the system. Now listen, some of you are struggling right now because you're ashamed. You're not willing to do work that seems beneath you. You don't want to start from what looks like the bottom. You want to skip the gleaning and go straight into the banquet. And because you won't start where you are, you stay stuck where you are. But when one accepts and is content with their situation, there is freedom. The Apostle Paul talked about this. He said, godliness with contentment is great gain. Now let me be clear. Contentment is not settling. Contentment is not saying, I guess this is all I'll ever be and this is it. No. Contentment is being at peace right where you are while you trust God to move you to where He wants you to be. Contentment relieves you from the pressure of having to figure it all out. It releases you from the anxiety of needing to look successful while you're still in the process. Ruth was content to glean. She was at peace with being a foreigner picking up leftovers. And because she was content in that low place, guess what? God was able to trust her with a high place. So here's my question for you today. What is the field you know you need to go to, but your pride is keeping you from entering? What steps feel small or humiliating that might actually be the door God is using to lead you to your destiny? Don't despise the day of small beginnings. The step you take in humility is the step God uses to guide you into your purpose. So let's get practical. Let's talk about what this actually looks like in your life this week. What is your gleaning? What is the small, consistent work you can do right now with the skills you already have? Because here's the truth. You don't need a vision for the next 5 years to start. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to know what field is in front of you today. For some of you, gleaning might mean taking a course to build a skill you're lacking. It might mean going back to school while you're working a job you don't love. It might mean volunteering somewhere to gain experience while you wait for the paid position. For some of you, gleaning might mean doing the small administrative work for your business that you had doing, the bookkeeping, the emails, the behind-the-scenes stuff nobody claps for. It might mean showing up early and staying late. It may mean saying yes to the project nobody else wants so you can learn something new. For some of you, gleaning might mean going to counseling and to heal the places that keep tripping you up. It might mean joining a small group even though you're an introvert. It might mean reading books that stretch you. Here's what Ruth teaches us. Do the small work with excellence because Boaz is watching. I need you to get this. He didn't show up and hand her a harvest. He showed up because he heard about her character, the way she treated Naomi, the loyalty she showed. And then he saw her work ethic with his own eyes. He noticed her because she was noticed working. Not because she was loud, not because she promoted herself, not because she demanded attention, because she was excellent in the ordinary. So here's your action step for this week. Identify your field. Where is this place God has already positioned you? It might not be glamorous. It might not be your dream job. It might not be your final destination. But it's a field for you right now. And I want you to commit to working it with excellence. Stop waiting for the harvest before you plant. Stop waiting for the promotion before you show up early. Stop waiting for the applause before you do the unseen work. Stop waiting for Boaz to appear before you bend down to glean. He shows up in the field, not in the tent. So get up. Come on, ladies, get up and go to your field. As we close today, I want you to sit with us. Ruth could have stayed in the tent. She could have let her grief paralyze her. She could have let her pride keep her from work that felt beneath her. She could have waited for someone to rescue her. But she didn't. She got up. She went to the field. She bent down. She gleaned. And in the middle of her ordinary, God showed up. Not because she was lucky, but because she was faithful in the small things. Next week, we're going to keep walking with Ruth. We're going to talk about the third episode. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how your Boaz is secondary. Your identity as kinsman redeemer. Yes, because the ultimate goal of the story is not finding a partner. It's discovering that you are part of God's redemptive plan. That through Christ, you have the power to redeem the broken places in your own lineage. But for this week, your assignment is simple. Identify your field and go. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until you have it figured out. Don't wait until the work looks glamorous. Just go. The same God who guided Ruth to the right field is guiding you right now. You are not wandering. You are being led. So thanks for being here, ladies. And if this episode helped you, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. Rate and review this podcast because it will help other women find the space. And remember, potential is unlocked when you take the first step, even when you don't know where the step will lead. God guides the steps of those who are willing to move.
Thank you for watching Behold and Become with Brenda Shoko. If this conversation resonated with you, the journey doesn't have to end here. My books and resources are designed to be a continued companion on your path toward integrated healing and becoming who you were truly meant to be. You can find all of them along with information about personalized counseling, coaching, and masterclasses on my website, brendashoko.com. I would love to support you further. Visit brendashoko.com to begin the next chapter of your story.